First file, #003. This is the Corporate Files Lab. Today's intelligence briefing. The Trojan Horse Big Tech's silent conquest of the classroom.
Good to initiate the briefing. Our mission for the subscribers listening in is to look beyond the benevolent marketing.
We're analyzing the rapid, deep, and frankly unregulated integration of generative AI, Gen AI, into educational technology, EdTech.
Exactly. We need to strip away that veneer of utility and really identify the long-term strategic value.
And the inherent risks. We're talking about data rights, commercial exploitation.
And the geopolitical maneuvering that's framing all of this. It's a much bigger picture.
We've zeroed in on 5 primary vectors of entry, our target profile, if you will.
These are the tools already in wide circulation. We're looking at Character.ai, Grammarly,
Badger School AI, Microsoft Copilot, and Mind's Eye.
And our operational scope is centered squarely on the impact these systems have on children, on their learning, and on their fundamental human rights.
We're using the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, the UNCRC, as our framework, which holds these systems to a far higher standard than just standard business practice.
Precisely. And the initial claim these companies make, their whole pitch, is one of clear, immediate utility, to generate a lot of optimism.
Of course. Enhancing teaching, cutting down on teacher workload.
Providing measurable support for accessibility. Think about language learners or children with additional needs. That utility is the camouflage. It's the sweet wrapper.
And it's an effective camouflage because the need is very real. Teachers are brought out, resources are thin.
Right.
So when a company offers an immediate 30% reduction in planning time, that's a powerful incentive. Who's going to read the fine print?
And that's the entry point. You're arguing this is just the foot in the door for a much deeper play.
It is the systemic breach. The deeper reality here is that these tools are systematically amplifying data processing issues that were already poorly managed in schools.
So they're not just benign learning aids.
Not at all. They are fundamentally foundational infrastructure deployed to gather data and train massive commercial AI systems. They're future training sets disguised as homework helpers.
And they're leveraging the trust that is inherent in any educational environment.
So for our operatives, we have to maintain a high state of alert here. Subscribers to this briefing need to remember that in this environment, this information overload, every claim of altruism needs to be met with skepticism.
In proportionate dose, yes.
Critical thinking isn't an academic nice-to-have. It's the essential defense mechanism against exploitation that's, built right into the software itself.
Our first phase of analysis has to be that infrastructure shift. How did we get from Gen AI as a supplemental tool to it being embedded system infrastructure? Almost impossible to disentangle.
The speed and the sheer ubiquity of it is what makes assessing risks so hard for schools.
Yeah.
The integration is rapid, it's often silent.
And it's frequently defaulted on. You don't get a pop-up asking for permission.
No, you just see a new feature suddenly appear in an application you already use every single day.
Consider Microsoft's leverage here. It's massive. Copilot was originally engineered and marketed for adults, for professionals.
Right.
But because it's seamlessly, and by default, integrated into the Microsoft 365 suite,
which is everywhere. Word, PowerPoint, Teams.
it's immediately accessible. And our intel shows it's being accessed by children across educational settings, not just in the UK, but globally.
That deep integration means you can't just uninstall the AI software. It's part of the core package the school already relies on.
Our studies confirm it. These tools are in heavy documented use by students, by teachers, by administrators. The Department for Education reports confirm use across most subjects.
So the policy is running at dial-up speed against a fiber optic rollout.
Exactly. The velocity of adoption is just outpacing any legislative or policy capacity. And we see this in the paradox of teacher workload, which is the critical incentive here.
On the surface, the data looks great for them. Educators are reporting genuine time savings.
We tracked a significant UK trial using ChatGPT with structured guidelines, reduced lesson planning time by 31%.
That's a huge number.
It is. And crucially, the trial found this happened without compromising the quality of the lesson plans. That is a measurable incentive that's very hard for any institution to ignore.
But it's a mirage. It comes with a new layer of cognitive labor for the teacher.
Yes, they're suddenly saddled with evaluation and verification. They have to check for AI hallucinations, make sure the content isn't biased, and confirm it fits the curriculum.
So you save time drafting, but you spend it auditing a machine.
It's not a workload reduction, it's a cost shift. The professional responsibility for accuracy and safety gets transferred from the corporate developer, who knows the system's flaws, directly onto an under-resourced teacher using a black box tool.
And that black box is a deep vulnerability. Let's dig into Microsoft Copilot. Its availability to children, just because 365 is the standard, is a systemic risk.
It is. A detailed Dutch Data Protection Impact Assessment, a DPIA, it identified multiple critical privacy concerns.
Walk us through those. What did the Dutch regulators find so concerning about Copilot in a school?
Well, the DPIA flagged the risk of fabricated personal data, so the system just making up plausible but false information about a user.
Okay.
It also pointed to these opaque filtering mechanisms. Content gets censored, but with no explanation. But the most alarming finding, which our own research corroborated, was the extensive user tracking.
Right. We track this activity. Even in what should be a secure, closed educational setting, when a child accessed Copilot, commercial trackers were activated.
What kind of trackers?
We flagged multiple advertising trackers, Google Ads, for instance, trying to profile the user in the background. This isn't just telemetry for bug fixes. This is data leakage for commercial profiling, active inside a kid's learning environment.
And the mechanism itself just limits the child's agency.
Yeah.
Because it's defaulted into 365, the child has no practical way to opt out.
If they use Word, they're opted in.
Pretty much. And when Copilot safety filters do block a response, the child just gets this generic, opaque message, I can't answer, or I'm not permitted to respond.
So the system censors, but it never explains why it censored the content or what the rules even are.
Exactly. It masks the hidden rules, the internal biases from both the student and the teacher. It erodes transparency and agency, and it conditions the user to just accept the black box without question.
And this risk, it extends even to tools that are designed to remove barriers. The assistive technology, or AT category, we looked at Mind's Eye.
Right, from SmartBox. Mind's Eye is a highly specialized critical tool. It uses eye gaze and head trackers to help children with severe speech or mobility challenges communicate.
It's genuinely life-changing technology.
It is. It reduces real barriers to expression, supports their right to participate. But even here, integrating Gen AI raises very serious concerns.
How does Gen AI even manifest in a tool like that? What are the data risks?
So Gen AI helps predict and generate language based on the child's context, making communication faster. The risk is in the opaque data hearing practices governing that biometric data.
The eye gaze and head tracker data, that's incredibly sensitive.
It's sensitive physiological data. And if the AI's predictive suggestions are based on a biased training set, or if they're inappropriate for that child's context, you risk undermining their unique voice.
So instead of removing a barrier, it's imposing a new algorithmic one.
It can reinforce existing inequalities. If the system is constantly predicting what a disabled child ought to say based on aggregated data, it limits their autonomy. It turns mission-critical support into a new, insidious vector for discrimination.
For our operatives tracking this, we need to be very clear about the mechanism of conquest. Let's reiterate what Gen AI actually is.
Gen AI is a subset of AI. It uses generative models, large language models, diffusion models to produce new content, text, code, images.
And the critical part is the training.
The training process is everything. These models are trained on vast, often proprietary data sets. This is what gives them their broad, general-purpose abilities. The conquest is this. Every single data point collected in a classroom today is feedstock for the global model of tomorrow.
That feedstock is the ultimate prize. And that brings us to our next section. Data as the ultimate commodity. The true cost of free education.
This free for schools narrative, it's the core of the Trojan Horse strategy. It masks the reality that student data is being systematically harvested.
And it's not being collected to enhance education.
No. It's for commercial exploitation, targeted advertising, cross-profiling, and for the ongoing refinement of these AI systems. Our audits show this is systemic. In some cases, it's just egregious.
Let's start with Grammarly, a tool many students use for genuine improvement. It helps non-native speakers, kids with learning differences. But its data processing, it just flatly contradicts its own privacy commitments.
The audit was stark. We documented 39 observed tracking activities on a single child user profile. 39. And not just first-party analytics. We're talking third-party ad trackers, Google tags for cross-site tracking, Amazon CloudFront, even PayPal tracking components.
PayPal. What is the pedagogical justification for a payment processor tracker inside a free grammar tool for a child?
There is none. And what's more, This tracking happened even when the user had explicitly gone into the settings and opted out of non-essential cookies.
So consent is meaningless.
The system is engineered to track for commercial purposes, regardless of consent. It's a clear violation of privacy rights under Article 16 of the UNCRC. The data is being monetized before the lesson is even learned.
And the findings for Magic School AI, a tool marketed directly to educators, were even worse. It escalated from commercial tracking to exposure to high-risk content.
We did a detailed walkthrough. We set up a Magic Student account for a 12-year-old. Immediately, that account was exposed to commercial tracking from Amazon, Intercom, Google Ads.
Standard practice, it seems.
Yes, but the critical vulnerability emerged when we traced the affiliates tied to those ad networks.
And what did you find?
We found that the child was being tracked by affiliates of adult website advertisers, including links leading to erotic content and friend finder sites.
So there's a direct line from an edtech tool to adult content advertising networks.
The connections, though indirect, were facilitated by the data sharing framework set up by the edtech provider. This is a clear, unacceptable violation of a child's right to protection from commercial exploitation under UNCRC Articles 32 and 36.
It's moved beyond a privacy failure into a safety failure. And the conclusion from all 5 of our case studies is that this isn't an isolated error, it's a systemic failure.
Right. Character.ai was non-compliant. Grammarly, Magic School AI, Copilot, they all fail to uphold fundamental privacy protections. And the opacity in the data processing ensures that educators and parents, they remain completely in the dark about who is processing this data and for what purpose.
And that opacity, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's designed to obscure the true transaction. This brings us to the critical vulnerability in the entire system, when big tech offers utility without an upfront financial cost.
A free Copilot license, a free Grammarly account.
The exchange is for something far more valuable. Information is the only currency. They are buying future market dominance with our children's data.
And that data isn't just for ads. It's used to generate new, insidious features like AI detection tools, which themselves introduce real pedagogical harm.
The irony is it's staggering. Companies like Grammarly market these AI detection features as a way to ensure academic integrity,
while burying disclosures that admit they're inaccurate and have a high risk of false positives.
And independent studies confirm this. These tools do not work. They are unreliable and are frequently outperformed by the very AI submissions they're supposed to detect.
So the system creates a problem and then sells a faulty solution to that problem.
And it shifts this huge, unfair burden onto teachers. Now they have to act as technological arbiters, risking the trust between them and their students. That trust is crucial for education, something the UNCRC recognizes in Articles 28 and 29.
And the harm is disproportionately targeted. Think about a neurodiverse learner, maybe a student with dyslexia, who genuinely relies on Grammarly for help.
They use the approved tool to get their work done.
And then they get flagged by the detection algorithm for cheating. It leads to unwarranted accusations, disciplinary action. It penalizes the very students who are trying to follow the rules.
And is there any recourse for that student?
None. Our audit found a complete failure across all companies to provide accessible tools for children to exercise their rights. No child-friendly complaint mechanisms, no clear privacy notices, no way for a student to contest a decision.
It's a violation of their right to be heard, their right to a remedy.
Articles 12, 40, 42. A total system failure. The system is engineered for extraction with zero accountability.
Okay, let's move from the classroom floor to the global chessboard. We need to analyze how education is being positioned as the central front in a much larger conflict.
And the framing is explicit. We see it in key government documents. Education is being called a new battlefield in the AI war.
This isn't just academic competition.
No, this is a high-stakes geopolitical contest for AI sovereignty, for economic advantage, and for long-term technological dominance between the U.S. and China.
The U.S. strategy seems to be focused on leveraging its massive private sector, aligning corporate power with federal funding.
Right. The presidential executive order was clear. It highlighted the imperative to promote the export of the American AI technology stack to secure continued technological dominance.
It's a government-backed market entry strategy, and schools are the beachhead.
And the pledges from the key U.S. tech players, they are staggering. It's a calculated investment in future market share.
So give us the scope of these commitments. How extensive is this?
Microsoft is offering free access to its commercial-grade AI Copilot to every K-12 student in the United States.
Every single one.
For the academic year. This embeds their product, their stack, into the daily workflow of the next generation. It creates dependency from the ground up.
And it's not just Microsoft. This is a coordinated move.
Not at all. Amazon is committed to training 4 million U.S. learners and 10,000 educators. IBM is skilling 2 million learners globally through its SkillsBuild platform. Adobe is providing free access to its Gen AI tools for every K-12 student.
It's a massive, coordinated campaign targeting the technical fluency of the future workforce.
And it's all synchronized with federal strategy. The White House issued a 90-step national plan directing agencies to weave AI competencies into existing grants.
Or they're opening the federal funding tab.
Exactly. The Department of Education confirmed that current funds for things like tutoring and teacher training can now be used for AI skill development. They're actively prioritizing grant proposals that build AI literacy. It steers the entire system towards their agenda.
Meanwhile, China is executing a different but equally ambitious strategy focused on the global south.
It's a different model. Not fragmented private pledges, but a coordinated state-backed ecosystem. They're prioritizing speed, unified policy, and standardized rollout.
And this is delivered through infrastructure diplomacy.
And multilateral leverage. China is aggressively leading South-South cooperation. Under UNESCO's G77 plus China initiative, this is proactive policy setting. They're trying to establish the global norms for AI in education.
So they're not just exporting software, they're exporting the framework for how AI education will be governed.
That's it exactly. They've held regional seminars with over 50 countries, thousands of policymakers, all working to craft national AI competency frameworks that align with UNESCO guidelines.
Which presumably favor Chinese technology and standards.
Once those frameworks are adopted, they dictate curriculum, hardware procurement, data management, all areas where Chinese tech is positioned to step in.
And the infrastructure delivery backs this up. Platforms like Squirrel AI Learning.
Scalable AI-powered tutoring systems. They're being piloted across the global south, in markets where local teaching resources are scarce.
So it's presented as a solution.
A low-cost, scalable, and assessment-driven solution to educational deficits. At the same time, Huawei's ICT Academy has partnered with over 3,000 universities globally, training 1.3 million students in AI skills.
The implication is profound. If Western actors lack this kind of coordinated depth in emerging markets,
China's framework could become the de facto global standard. Their influence extends beyond economics into setting the policy that will define education for the next century.
So this strategic contest is clear. But let's bring it back to the individual level, the direct consequences for the learner, the cognitive battlefront.
Right. The core pedagogical risk that neuroscientists have identified is the impairment of deep learning. They call it cognitive debt.
Cognitive debt. That's a powerful term. Explain the mechanism there.
The evidence comes from an MIT Media Lab study. They used EEG caps on essay writers and found a direct link between reliance on Gen AI and diminished neural activity.
What exactly did they see in the brain scans?
The participants who used ChatGPT for the initial draft showed the shallowest neural activity, especially in areas for memory encoding and relational thinking. They had the poorest recall of the content afterwards.
So the AI does the heavy lifting and the student's brain doesn't?
It incurs a debt, a failure to internalize the information. The student gets the completed assignment, but they sacrifice the learning process itself. They haven't done the mental work required to make the knowledge stick.
But the study also found a way around this, a guardrail.
It did. The participants who drafted their work unaided first, and then used AI just for revision and editing. They maintained healthier brainwave patterns and had much better recall.
That's critical intelligence for curriculum design. It establishes a necessary sequence.
AI must be for refinement, not for initial thought generation. We have to protect those early stages of high-effort cognition from being taken over by the algorithm.
Otherwise, you're just limiting the student's intellectual autonomy.
And impinging on their rights to freedom of expression and opinion.
While this is playing out in the classroom, the EU is attempting a policy counterstrike. The EU AI Act. It's a global bellwether.
It is. It follows a risk-based approach, and it directly addresses several of these edtech risks by outright banning certain practices.
So what's on the ban list that relates to kids and edtech?
The Act specifically bans harmful AI-based exploitation of vulnerabilities. This is to protect children from manipulation, like an AI toy coercing a child into making purchases.
Okay.
And, crucially for the classroom, it prohibits emotion recognition systems in educational institutions.
So no AI monitoring if a student is paying attention.
Exactly. No invasive biometric monitoring. It also bans AI that intends to distort human behavior through subliminal components.
And then there's the high-risk category.
Yes, the Act designates certain systems as high risk. This includes AI that determines access to education like admissions algorithms, or systems that evaluate learning outcomes like automated grading.
So if you're a provider of one of those systems, the compliance burden is huge.
It is. Rigorous standards for data quality, accuracy, human oversight, technical documentation. It's a significant regulatory hurdle designed to prevent algorithmic bias from destroying a child's future.
But the intention of the EU Act is strong, but the policy is still fragmented globally. The governance gap is stark.
Even within the UK, we see some Scottish local authorities have banned Gen AI in schools entirely. Others encourage it. Northern Ireland has no unified approach at all.
So it leaves the burden of safety and ethics on the schools themselves.
On individual, under-resourced schools and teachers, they're tasked with navigating these immensely complex, opaque technologies with no standardized framework for quality or data protection. That is the primary structural flaw right now.
Okay, we've reached the synthesis phase.
Okay.
Let's distill the core intelligence for our operatives.
First, the silent conquest is underway and accelerating. Gen AI is moving from being a disposable tool to foundational infrastructure. This makes risk mitigation and disentanglement nearly impossible.
Second, the true cost isn't financial. It is the systematic exploitation of children's data for commercial and predictive purposes. Our audit confirms a systemic failure by these companies to uphold child rights, prioritizing profit over safety.
When the tool is free, the child is the product.
And third, the classroom is now a strategic front in the AI superpower race. The U.S. is leveraging corporate power, while China uses infrastructure diplomacy to shape global policy. It's a competition for the future definition of intelligence itself.
So what's the ultimate implication here as we close this file?
The risk is institutional normalization.
The core issue is this fundamental shift in accountability. It's being offloaded entirely onto the weakest links in the chain. The schools, the teachers, the students.
The precautionary principle is mandated by law, but it's not being enforced.
And without robust public frameworks and real accountability from governments, the risk of normalizing dependency on these biased systems just increases every single day. The industry is setting the rules of the game in the classroom, and every day that governments delay, that dependency becomes more and more irreversible.
Case file closed. Stay ahead of the curve. New intelligence available every Saturday. You've been listening to Corporate Files Lab, briefings on AI, business, and geopolitics.